When it comes to hyping up the NBA Finals, the NBA know what they're doing. From the world-class advertising,
it's the NBA Finals,
to the ceremonies, the trailers and everything they make.
Welcome to Game 1 of the NBA Finals.
Everything is top-notch. Besides one thing, the posters. The posters are usually not top-notch, not even close. Every year, the poster for the NBA Finals just gets posted on their social medias and kind of feels like a brochure more than anything else. Just seems like something where you can find information on what the date and the time and the channel is, but that's about it. To me, that's not a poster. A poster should feel energetic, it should hype the fans up, it should have some energy to it. Kind of like what a movie poster does. So today, I'll take the matter into my own hands and redesign NBA posters from the last few years so that they actually look good. Let's get started. To start things off, we'll start with the 2024 NBA Finals, Dallas versus Boston Celtics. So this is what the NBA had posted on their socials for this finals, and as you can see again, a very good graphic, but it does not have that feeling of a poster. It tells what the date is, tells what the time is, tells where you can watch it, but nothing else. So my inspiration for the redesign for this one was this Into the Spider-Verse movie poster, where I was thinking on one hand we could have Luka facing off against Jason Tatum in like a very close-up type situation. So we'll start off by bringing this image I found on Google of Luka, a pretty standard render there. Usually what I like to do is I like to start off by using the smoothing tool, and then we're going to use the sharpen tool, which actually does a pretty good job in sharpening the areas such as the details that you want to see in the skin, the pores, and the hair usually is a pretty good place to sharpen out. I would just flip Luka's face around because I feel like I'm only going to use the left side of his face, and so we're going to mask out the areas of the body that we do not need, leaving just the face. I usually like to work with black and dark backgrounds. It gives me more opportunity to add glows and stuff to it. And so then we're going to look for a good Jason Tatum face to start with. This is the only one I could find. This is from years ago, Jason Tatum on that magazine cover. So what I'll have to do is I'll use that as a starting point, but then I'll have to find newer pictures of Jason to make him look like this is a newer render of him, not one from 5 years ago. Luka naturally has a heavier and bigger face, and that's why Jason's face next to it doesn't quite look symmetrical. We're going to use this image of Jason to add his current hairstyle, which is to add his curly hair at the top instead of the buzz cut that he was rocking years ago. Found another picture of Jason Tatum, which I feel like we could use some of the details on his skin, so the circles under his eyes and the scar that he has on his cheek there. Now I feel like we should do a different double color on this one. We'll have green for the Celtic side, we'll have blue for Luka's side. So let's start off with the green. We'll add a hue saturation layer onto it and remove it from Luka's face because that one we need it to be blue. Then I found this another image of Jason Tatum. I feel like this would be a good reference point for me to use the beard from, to add the beard onto our young Jason Tatum's face. I'm just going to do that. Just going to use a soft brush to erase the edges of the beard so it blends in better. And just like that, just going to keep adding more details. For example, the eyes look a bit more high quality in this reference image. And after that, it's just a whole lot of blending you got to do with the brush tool. We'll use a little bit of generative fill here to see if we can come up with a clean jersey for Jason Tatum instead of having to find one. And in this case, Photoshop's AI did a pretty decent job of adding the jersey, so I'll leave it as it is there. We'll come back to that later. Now, I feel like Luka's face is missing some. I don't just want to leave it as that, so I'll add some sparks to the left side. I want the fire sparks to be looking as if they're coming out of his face on the edge, and also act like a light source. So I'll add some lighting to it right after I'm done here. And then we use hue saturation once again to add the edge lighting onto Luka's skin directly. Also using a lot of dodge and burn tools. They tend to do a pretty good job in these type of situations. We're going to look for some green paint coming out of Jason Tatum's side. I don't want it to be fire on both sides. We'll have sparks on both sides, but this, I feel like we can have a nice clean double exposure look as if Jason Tatum's face is made out of paint almost. It's the unnecessary edges there. Now, just like in the Spider-Man poster, in the middle I kind of want to have like separation, which is pretty visible. So once that's done, I would like that to be green eventually, but in the meantime we'll add rim lighting and edge lighting to Jason Tatum's right side so that it looks like the paint that's coming out of his face actually has a little bit of glow to it. And then I'll add these blurry lighting and some text there to signify that it is indeed a game poster. Once you're done with all that, you'll have something like this, which in my opinion looks a lot more cinematic and better to look at from a fan's perspective when thinking about the NBA Finals. So this next one is not necessarily an NBA Finals series that I'll be making a poster of, but this one definitely felt like an NBA Finals series. So this is the 2023 Lakers versus Warriors playoff series, where Lakers obviously won. And for this one, my inspiration was one of those UFC posters where the fighters are face to face. It almost feels like a fight poster. I want it to be intense. So I'll be starting off by finding a side profile face for both Steph Curry and LeBron. And we're going to add them side to side. Now, keep in mind with these kind of things, you want to make sure the faces are pretty high quality because we're going to be stretching them out quite a bit. And you don't want the faces to look blurry or pixelated. You can use some online upscalers to do that same thing as well. There's some really nice AI ones out there. For the background, I will be using this empty stadium with the lights in the background, which we'll use as a light source, then eventually be adding light onto both edges of LeBron and Steph. Add some blur onto those lights there and add a curves adjustment layer to adjust the darkness of the overall background. I feel like the overall picture is still pretty bright, so I'll be adding another layer of exposure and bringing everything down a notch in terms of the brightness, and then we can start painting the lights manually onto LeBron and Steph themselves. This usually works very well with a darker setting like we have in this picture, where you can just make everything even more darker and start painting out the lights. Definitely not my best drawing here. I'm not using a tablet today, just my mouse for this video. What I like to do once I'm done painting my light is just add a little bit of a blur to the mask, the layer mask there. Adds a nice little touch to that. I then found this image of LeBron in a Lakers jersey, which I'll be cutting out and then pasting it onto our main image to replace the Cavaliers jersey that he's currently rocking in the picture that we used before. And then time to paint some light on Steph's face himself. Gonna add a pretty harsh rim light or edge lighting onto this to add the dramatic effect, even on the beard and the hair itself. And then I'll be adding some extra detail onto the skin itself using the dodge and burn. Add some subtle glow in some areas, some dirt, some darkness, so that it feels like the skin texture is real. Once all that is done, I'll just be adding the game 1 text like we did for the previous one, and that should pretty much be it. For the text, we're gonna add some bevel and contour, add some nice little gold effect to it, which I feel like for the series, gold seems applicable. So we'll add a gold text highlight, some text effects onto it to make the text stand out even more. Once I'm done with that, inspired by a UFC poster again, I kind of wanted to add a tagline that goes along with this poster. So I came up with "one last time" to make it sound more dramatic, as if they're both battling it out for one last time. I'll be adding that text right in the middle between the two heads, so that seems like that is going to be the title of this movie poster, or this movie that the series is going to be. And with all that, this is the poster we came up with compared to this is what the UFC had originally produced for their socials. As you can see, a big difference in the new poster. You can see it just feels more intense and feels like something you want to watch. Last but definitely not the least, we will be redesigning the 2023 NBA Finals poster, Denver Nuggets versus the Miami Heat. So for this one, my inspiration was this Joker comic poster where the Joker is sitting in this dark alley with Batman standing over him. Defeat. And why I chose to do this is because if you guys remember the incident that happened where Jokic pushed Morris down, and after the game, the Miami Heat ended up pulling up to the locker room looking for Jokic. So that whole moment inspired me to make the poster like this. You guys will know at the end why I'm choosing to do this. It'll all make sense to you, so just bear with me. We'll be starting off with a Jokic picture sitting down on the ground, which this one was pretty good here. We'll be cutting that out using our select subject tool, which usually does a pretty good job at cutting the edges out. Saves you a lot of time as well. Once you're done with that, I will try to use Photoshop's generative AI to finish the feet, as the feet were not included in the picture that I found. But as you can see, a lot of times Photoshop's AI is not very good at what it does. So I'll be coming back to this later to figure out how to add feet to the picture. But in the meantime, we'll add some nice concrete floors on which Jokic will be sitting down on. Gonna add some nice dark brown texture onto them, some nice coloring. Just gonna place that right underneath that as if he is actually sitting on those concrete blocks. Add a curves adjustment layer to bring the lighting in check. The rest of the background is still incomplete, so I'll be looking for some dark alley pictures available on the web if I can find some good ones. This was a pretty good one I was able to find. Gonna add a street light just for good measure, and this nice graffiti poster that I'll be adding the team logos onto later on. Adding some brick texture onto the back so it doesn't feel as empty, and this empty building that I found online with Jamal Murray in it, acting like he is the one looking over everything as it's going down, almost like he's there to help Jokic if anything was to happen. I'm gonna add the Joker's MVP trophy from last year that he actually won. And for the face itself, I will be making him seem like he is a Joker, like the real Joker, by adding some face paint and some lipstick and the classic Joker makeup that he is known to rock very well. After that, we'll add some darkness to the image as usual and some edge lighting with the yellow tint to top everything off, because that's what the scene is going to resemble. We're going to add 3 big Miami Heat players there. They're the backbone of last year's NBA Finals. They're the ones who did a lot of the hard work, so make them seem like they're standing over Jokic and he's the one just sitting down because of them, because they're almost bullying him in the back alleyways. So we're going to make them all dark and add a blur layer to it so it seems like they're only their shadows is visible, and some shadowing on the floor as well to make it look more realistic. And we'll finish it off by adding a red lights or red paint onto where their eyes should be to indicate they're actually standing on business and they're about to do some harm to Jokic right there. So with all that being said, that is the final image right there compared to what the NBA posted on their socials right there. You guys can make the judgment on which one you guys prefer more. That is it for me for this video. Let me know what you guys would like to see for the next one, and please leave a comment down below if you have any suggestions for upcoming videos, and I will see you guys in the next one.